The Earth goes into a panic when an alien spaceship was spotted. When it landed, it wasn't alien life that comes out. It was another human civilization claiming Earth was a prison to those who were banished from the main colony. The Terrans were not pleased. Of course, it is quite reasonable to be displeased upon learning that your entire civilization's pre-agriculture history has been a sham. Not exactly how the Terran humans expected first contact to go. Even worse to learn that it all started as a form of penal colony. Some Terran humans sardonically compared the situation of Earth to the historic practice of deporting criminals to Australia. But the worst thing to learn, and the thing that was most displeasing, was that periodically, more people were forcibly sent to Earth, and the people that the apparent main colonial effort sent to Earth to be contained here were, of course, criminals, thus not entirely nice people in general. But considering what kind of criminals we're talking about here, it is understandable that the Terrans were not happy with their situation. Their greatest monsters, who had committed the most atrocious crimes and inconceivably evil acts in the planet's history, had been transplanted to the planet from somewhere else. The Derlwangers, the Attilas, the Harps, and all the other monsters out of history. And a large number of general scum too, con artists and the like, from Nasser to Bezos, from Gilles de Reyes to Baba Anuka. A significant majority of the most shitty, evil, vile, reprehensible, disgusting and utterly despicable scum from the annals of history hadn't even been born on Earth. So when the humans from the main colonial effort, under the United Human League, said that the time had come for Earth to be put back under central control rather than be left to our own devices, well, Terran humanity did not respond in a nice and forgiving manner. The general consensus after the revelation of our origin was that perhaps it would have been far better to have treated the horrid scum deported to Earth quite differently. And since the extraterrestrial humans had been so kind and polite to provide the Terran humans with a full list of all recent arrivals, their crimes, and Terran identities, the Terrans decided to rectify the mistakes that the other humans had made, by the means of guillotines and guns. Blood flowed in the streets of every city on planet Earth. Blood flowed as the Terrans rid themselves of the horrible people sent to Earth. The serial killers, the monstrous CEOs, the corrupt politicians, all of them more often than not sent here as punishment for crimes committed off-world. And if some homegrown scum were executed alongside the off-worlders, then the mob considered it to be justice. A horrible, nightmarish justice, to be sure. But what with the full evils, plans and crimes revealed of countless powerful people who happened to have used their superior education and knowledge to screw over the planet, well, the people did not care for the crimes they themselves were committing. And the ship that had come to bring Earth back under League control when it tried to assert order. To seize control, the mob turned on them. Sure, their technology was centuries ahead of what Earth could even hope to produce, but just as the British learned at Isandlwana, technological superiority does not equate to victory. And their ship was blasted with everything mankind had, some of the angrier pilots taking a page out of insanity itself to sacrifice their own planes and lives to force the advanced ship to land. Ground-to-air missiles blasted at its shields with a truly insane abandon. Even commercial planes managed to assist in whatever capacity they had as makeshift bombers. And once it had crashed, the angry mobs of civilians and soldiers, led by intermediary leaders at best, and functioning under a purely rage-based form of anarchy at worst, resorted to metaphorically drowning the unlucky crew of that ship in the blood of Terrans. And they more or less succeeded. The casualties were atrocious. The damages to the ship were extensive, but it could be studied. It could be reverse-engineered. And once the mobs died down, and some form of conventional order returned under the few leaders mankind had that weren't born off-world, the work started. To replicate the ship, or at very least the components on board that made FTL travel possible. Because the white-hot rage of mankind had cooled now. The Terrans had, with fire and steel, purged their world. Some called it a purification. Others called it necessary sacrifices for a better. In truth, it was the release of the thousands of years of bitterness and anger in the face of those who used their knowledge to dominate the rest of the Terrans. Didn't mean that it was justified, that it was right, but what was done, was done. And it was done in the madness of the berserk, the blind, burning rage that cannot be stopped by anything other than death. It had, however, burned out, and in its place was a different form of anger, a cold, terrible, and frightening resolve. It pervaded popular culture. It infested the online meme spheres. It resounded from the halls of every school, from the wards of every hospital, and the homes of every Terran. A determined will to ensure that such a thing as what had happened to Earth, that a world should be the isolated playground of monsters bound to the skin of mortal men, that innocent people should pay for the cowardice of others. No more. No more. That became the cry of the Terrans. They had not asked to be born on a world where, inevitably, evil bastards were scattered around the land, free to assume dominion over people of kind hearts and forgiving souls. The people of Earth had committed no crimes in their lives to be treated as such. They had done no great evils that made their world doomed to be a receptacle for the Stalins and Mengeles. They had made mistakes, sure. They had borne evil sons and daughters in their time, sure. Many monsters in history had indeed been homegrown, but to increase the supply of evil bastards artificially in such a manner as the League had done was reprehensible. What had the League expected from Earth, from the Terrans, that the people of the Third Rock of Sol would just roll over obediently like a dog? So when the second ship came to find out what had happened to the first, the Terrans dictated terms: independence, reparations, the right to drag the bastards who had sent monstrous men to Earth back to The Hague and try them for crimes against humanity. It was, of course, not expected that the League would agree to any of that. They had come to bring the Earth under compliance, to bring it into the fold of a united and harmonious interstellar human state. One will, one mankind, one destiny. Or so the League officials on board the second ship claimed. The Terrans responded by successfully boarding and seizing control of the League ship, using new space shuttles, enhanced with technology from the first ship, and putting the officials on trial for crimes against humanity. Because the Terrans, before confused, disunited, and kept hopelessly in the dark by off-world criminal syndicates, weren't playing anymore. They made it abundantly clear as they reverse-engineered the second ship and began harvesting the asteroid belts of the solar system that they weren't about to give an inch. They were unified about this. No more greedy bastards burning up the planet. No more monsters purging millions in the name of madness. No more. And as the Terrans built more and more ships to create a fleet capable of defending their home, and perhaps even striking back should they come under attack, they had their own vision. The rest of mankind had left them to rot. Whatever mankind on other worlds had become, if they were willing to let billions suffer just so they could put prisoners away safely, they weren't what the Terrans would consider truly human anymore. To be human is to be kind. To be human is to care. And to be human is to work together to protect humanity from any and all threats. The Terran culture and the nature of the Earth's people had achieved a new definition in this conflict. They had found themselves and had emerged harder, better, and stronger from the horrors that the League had inflicted upon them. They had found the culture of the League, weak and incapable of executing the monsters of history, lacking in worthiness. Instead, emerging like a flaming phoenix from the arena of monsters, a new mankind, a better mankind, was ready to plunge a dagger deep in the heart of the stagnant beast that was the League. If they could even find the daring and courage it would take to even attempt to attack the Terrans, that is. If they dared to try, they'd learn through blood, steel, and terror that the Terrans would suffer under their yoke no more.